One of the perks in making videos about guitars and guitar gear for YouTube is that occasionally you'll get your hands on something spectacular, something that you maybe didn't think you even deserved to get your hands on at some point. Something expensive maybe, something exotic, something extraordinary in some sort of a way. And this guitar right here, the Paoletti 2025 Nancy Loft SP90, is all of those things, and I consider myself very lucky to have one in my hands to make a video for you folks today. And what I'm going to do in this video is, well, tell you all about this guitar, everything you need to know, specs, features, and so on. Then I'll play it for you in as many different musical styles as possible so you can hear it in action in as many genres as I can manage. And afterwards, I'll give you a few opinions about the Nancy Loft SP90. This guitar was sent to me by Frank and the team at Music Vine, who are the German distribution partners for Paoletti, and unfortunately I'm going to have to send it back, but there you go, I've got it for now, and we're going to document it for you today. So timestamps to everything that you'd like to see is going to be down there in the description and comments if you'd like to skip to a part of the video that most suits you. But let's start by talking about the information you need to know and the specs and features here. Now, Paoletti Guitars is an Italian company. They've been building since 2008, and it's a family affair. The Paolettis are actively involved in running the company, making the guitars, and every step of the process. Now, if you're someone who wants to order a Paoletti guitar, you can basically get whatever you want. You can order it custom, you can get different body shapes, different hardware, different pickups, different woods, different finishes, and so on and so on and so on. So it truly is a bespoke custom experience. There are a number of dealers as well where you can get different models, and Music Vine, the German distribution team, and Frank, who works there, they spec the guitars that they're going to be bringing into Germany. And this is the Nancy Loft SP90. The Nancy is Paoletti's take on this body shape, the Fender Telecaster-esque body shape, and they have a number of different series that you can order with each model, and the Loft series is denoted by the way it's been painted. In this case, we've got two different finishes here. We've got a black butterscotch over a sunburst, and it kind of looks like it's been relicked as well, but this is just the way they create their guitars. And if you want to see more detail about the whole production process of Paoletti guitars, I highly recommend that you watch their series, their YouTube documentaries about the production process of their guitars, and I'll link to that there and in the description as well. So this is the Nancy Loft SP90. If you want different body shapes, you can. If you want different kinds of paint jobs, you can do that as well. So what else do we have with this guitar then? Well, this guitar is made of the same old chestnut wood as all of the Paoletti guitars. Now, originally the Paoletti family, they come from the wine industry, and they had a number of 150-year-old Chianti wine barrels that were just sitting there in their old factory, and they found that these were amazing guitar bodies in waiting, and so the company is still using old chestnut wood to this day, and that's exactly what we've got here. Everything else on the guitar is going to be Paoletti as well, from the hardware to the pickups and so on and so on and so on, and it's all made in-house. They're also a very sustainable company. They're officially carbon neutral, and they try to use as little plastic in any guitar as possible. I think the only plastic that we've got in this specific model is going to be the pickup covers and the selector switch cover here, but in other guitars that they make, you'll get pickups with wooden covers and so on and so on, and there's literally no plastic in them whatsoever. So on the rest of the body here then, we have, well, a pretty standard Telecaster sort of looking affair with a P90 in the neck. The pickups are going to be Paoletti's own, and again, they're hand wound and hand aged and hand wax potted in-house as well. P90 pickup in the neck, Telecaster style single coil in the bridge, three-way selector switch here, and a standard master volume and master tone control. Although again, you may have noticed that these controls look a bit different from the norm. That's because Paoletti recycle and reuse used shotgun shell casings for their controls. So that's a pretty cool thing to have on the guitar as well. And by the way, the pots and electronics are going to be the highest quality too. CTS pots and CRL switches on these guitars as well. Otherwise, we've got a Paoletti custom-made ashtray Telecaster style bridge with 3 brass saddles, very nice vintage correct in a way. And we've got a Paoletti, again, custom-made brass nickel covered scratch plate here, again, reducing plastics in the guitar. Let's just go around to the back one more time so you can see that beautiful old chestnut wood body. And it's got really thin finish in nitrocellulose lacquer, so it's an experience to feel it, to hold it, to play it, and even to smell it. It just is luxurious in every sense of the word. And that continues when we move up to the neck. We've got a Canadian maple neck here, and it's roasted maple, roasted for 2 days in Paoletti's own ovens in Italy, and the neck is topped by a Pau Ferro fingerboard. We've got 22 Dunlop jumbo frets on this guitar. Now, the profile of the neck is a medium C. It's very, very comfy in the hand, and with that satin feel, it's really really slinky and easy to get up and down, as you'd expect. We've got a 41.9mm bone nut on this guitar. We've got a 12-inch fingerboard radius, and the scale length is going to be your Fender correct 25.5 inches. And moving up to the headstock here, well, you've got that now pretty familiar Paoletti logo, and we've got Kluson Deluxe tuners on this specific guitar. So this is the Paoletti Guitars Nancy Loft SP90, and for this guitar you're going to be paying a European retail price of around 4,200 euros. So yes, it's boutique in every respect, including price. Is it going to be worth it? That's something only you can decide. I should also mention, by the way, that with this guitar, of course, you get a fantastic wooden case, again made by the folks at Paoletti, and again wooden because they don't want to use plastic if they can absolutely avoid it. You also get some great case candy, a really nice canvas strap, strap locks, tools to help you sort the guitar out, certificate of authenticity, and some other goodies thrown in. And I should have thrown in some B-roll at some point here so you can see what you get as well. So that's what you get in the Paoletti package, but now what we're going to do is hear it so you can judge just how good these Paoletti pickups sound. Now my rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 head. We'll use a couple of the amp's different channels and a couple of my favorite overdrive and distortion pedals to spice things up a bit, and we'll start with some very classic cleans and gradually increase the gain until we're in drop D doing some metal using my Rev G3 distortion pedal, because I think you should be able to play any kind of music on a guitar that's as superlative as this. But that's what we're going to find out now. Let's play the Nancy Loft SP90 and we'll speak in a bit more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the Paoletti Nancy Loft SP90, and I hope you enjoyed the playing, the riffs and the tones. Please leave me a comment down there telling me what you think of this guitar. Is this your first time seeing a Paoletti, and what do you make of it? Do you like this sort of different two-colour, almost sort of relict but not relict finish? Do you dig those Paoletti pickups? Do you think it's worth it at over 4,000 euros, or have you got other guitars in mind for that sort of a price? Let's get a bit of a discussion going as normal in the comments, and I look forward to hearing what you folks think as usual. But now it's time for me to tell you what I think about this guitar. Like I said, the team at Music Mind sent me this guitar to play with and to make this video with a few weeks ago. It's been in my hands pretty much non-stop since then, and I do have a lot of stuff to say about it. So let's start with that now. And I'll take you through my kind of process and my journey with this guitar. And that began with my first impressions when I got the box. And the box itself, also made by the folks at Paoletti. It's a drop resistant box as well, very decent quality, as you'd expect at this sort of a price point. Get the guitar out of the box, and it's very heavy, the whole thing, and that's because the 70s inspired Paoletti case is also a very heavy beast. It's very weighty. It's been designed to really snugly fit the guitar as well. It's a great case, and it feels and looks expensive too, as you would expect from this whole Paoletti package. So on opening the case, I think I actually gasped. I probably should have filmed it, to be honest. You know, unboxings are a thing. I don't know why I didn't do it, but anyway, I gasped when I opened the case and saw what we've got here, because this guitar is stunning. And I realized that kind of a double finish like this that looks a bit relict but isn't, well, it's going to be divisive for some people, but I absolutely love it. I think it's been very tastefully done, and I'm not the world's hugest relic guitar fan. I tolerate them, I like them in some cases, but I think this guitar looks fantastic. And the other great thing about it is that you're not mistaking this for anything else. This is unmistakably a Paoletti as soon as you open it, so it's unique in that sense, and I think it looks fantastic. As soon as I picked it up, all my senses started screaming at me, Rich, you're holding a fantastic guitar in your hands, so cherish this moment. And cherish this moment I did, and it is a joy for all the senses. First off, looking at it, then picking it up and feeling it, this beautiful chestnut, almost 3D sort of finish that you've got here, and this satin Canadian roasted maple neck. It feels fantastic to hold, and it's super inspirational in terms of wanting to play it. It smells great too, and I think it would probably taste fantastic as well, although I do admit that I haven't taken a bite out of it yet at this moment in time. And the other thing I took note of straight away was the weight of the guitar. Now, with this chestnut body here and a lot of brass hardware on this guitar, I was wondering at first, is it going to be a bit of a heavy beast? But it's not. It's really okay for weight. This specific model weighs 3.86 kilograms, which is about 8 pounds 8, which for me personally is a tad heavier than I'd normally like. But I think you could probably order a Paoletti to be much lighter than this if you wanted. And they do indeed make a number of semi-hollow guitars too, if you wanted to go down that route as well. So in terms of first impressions, I was pretty much blown away. And the next thing that I started to look at was the build quality. And at this price point, 4,000 euros plus, well, you'd be expecting perfection. And this is what you get with this guitar. You know, straight out of the box, you can see that the setup is immaculate. The hardware and the parts and the woods used, everything is as high level as you can get. And it's all being built, I think, with love and affection for this guitar and for the whole process. And everything about it is absolutely immaculate. I can't find a single flaw within it. Of course, all of the electronics and pots work perfectly. Of course, the bone nut has been cut to perfection. Of course, the Clousson tuners do their job fantastically well. So it's absolutely flawless in terms of build quality. And then it was time to play the guitar. And in terms of playability, as soon as you strum a chord on this guitar, a nice open E, just has a beautiful, loud, acoustic, open ring to it, and you know straight away that you've got a great one, that everything about this guitar comes together and it's more than the sum of its parts in that sense. But in terms of how it feels to play, it's a supremely comfy instrument. Now, I know that a vintage Telecaster style guitar is not going to be perfect for everybody. It is a big slab of wood with no tummy cuts or anything like that, but this is something that I love. My main guitar is a Fender Mexican Telecaster after all, so I'm used to that kind of body and I love the shape. And the neck on this guitar is an absolute dream. I love the satin feel of the roasted maple neck. I love the way the frets have been done, jumbo frets, so very comfy. The 12-inch radius board is super comfy to play, and this medium C-shaped neck is super comfy from the first fret all the way up to the 22nd. So it's immaculate in that sense as well. Now, just a note on the Pau Ferro fingerboard here, I think there's Pau Ferro and then there's Pau Ferro in the guitar world. Now, I've always associated Pau Ferro boards, at least in the past 5 to 10 years, with more affordable affordable guitars, and they often look a bit dry and they look a bit anemic and a bit flaky, and they feel kind of dry too, but there's none of that with this guitar whatsoever. This is the most lovely Pau Ferro board I've ever experienced, and I actually wrote to the folks at Music Vine and said, are you sure this isn't a rosewood or an ebony board? And they said, no, we directly specified that this guitar should have a Pau Ferro board, and Paoletti do work with Pau Ferro a lot. You can also order ebony or Indian rosewood or other exotic woods from them for your fingerboard as well, but they love Pau Ferro, and when they've got a supply of Pau Ferro that's like this, so do I. It's really turned me round to this wood, and it shows that it can be done right. So this is a Pau Ferro board, but you could easily fool anyone into thinking that this was rosewood or ebony. It looks, feels and plays fantastically well. So again, full marks for the playability of this guitar. And now we come to that other crucial aspect to talk about, and that's going to be the sounds of this guitar. So we've got Paoletti pickups in this one, we've got their P90 in the neck and their Telecaster single coil in the bridge. That's a great combination for me. I love the spank and twang of a bridge Tele pickup, and I love the mid-range honky bark of a P90, and the neck P90 is a great thing to have as well. And these two pickups work fantastically well together to deliver a smorgasbord of tones, as you've hopefully heard in the playing section of this video. Now, we started with some clean tones, and all of the classic pristine cleans were on display. It's perfect for country and folk and funk and pop and so on and so on. You do get that lovely twang and bouncy spank from the bridge pickup and some lovely mellow jazzier tones from the neck P90. Use the two pickups together for a clean sound and you get some lovely mixed clean tones that are perfect for arpeggios and strum chords and just noodling away with for hours, and I am proof that that can happen very easily with this guitar. We then kicked in my Marshall 1959 Super Lead pedal, which is a Marshall Plexi sort of tone, for a bit of gain, and that's fantastic for Indian alternative rock tones with this guitar. Now, the bridge Tele pickup here is biting and aggressive but never too shrill or ice picky, while the neck pickup has that lovely grainy sound that excels for alternative rock and Smashing Pumpkins, grungy riffs and so on and so on and so on. Again, it's something I could play forever, but I had to up the gain a bit more to do some classic rock riffs with the Marshall pedal, and this guitar's fantastic for that as well. For those AC/DC and Airbourne style riffs, it excels. It's mid-heavy and pushed and thick and fat for a Tele-style bridge pickup, and it just delivers in every way, shape or form. When I moved up to the lead channel on the amp and we did some harder rock and some punk rock and some more alternative rock, again, this guitar is great for that. You get such amazing clarity and sustain from these pickups. Even when you're playing 6 strings in a heavily distorted chord, you can hear every note with so much crispness and so much clarity, and the dynamics are absolutely fantastic. It's a great guitar for all of that stuff and more. Fantastic for doing fast palm muted power chords for pop punk and so on. Fantastic for glam rock and hair metal and so on. Any kind of heavy and hard rock, this guitar is fantastic for. Now, when we tuned it down to drop D and I turned on the Rev G3 distortion pedal, well, you can play metal with this guitar, no problem whatsoever. I mean, I think if you're probably dedicated to metal, you'll buy a guitar with hotter output humbuckers, but you can totally do it with the Nancy Loft SP90. Again, a Tele bridge pickup is such an aggressive thing which gives you so much bite for metal, and this guitar excels here. And I could imagine this in combination with, say, a Les Paul style guitar would be a huge tonal partnership for heavier, down-tuned sort of stuff. But again, for metal, this is a great sounding guitar too. So for everything from really heavy modern metal stuff through to classic, mellow, smoky, jazzy 50s inspired cleans, the Nancy Loft SP90 excels in the tonal department, and I really, really like these Paoletti pickups. It's excellent in that regard. So I love pretty much everything about this guitar, but if you've been watching this video and like me, you're always wondering, yeah, this is cool, but what else is out there? Well, for this kind of price point, the world is your oyster, and for 4,000 plus, you can be in Fender or Gibson custom shop territory, probably used guitars for that sort of a price point, but you can really try so many different things. And again, the Fender custom shop will give you many options similar to Paoletti in that sort of regard, but you won't have the uniqueness that you get with a Paoletti. Now, over the past 3 or so years that I've been running this channel, I've had the privilege to be able to test a couple of other guitars which I'd raised to the similar sort of levels of the Paoletti here in terms of how good they are, great build quality, musical inspiration, playability, tones and so on. And first would be actually the 2 PJDs that I bought after making videos with, the Silverburst Carey Apprentice Standard and the St. John Standard as well. Both wonderful guitars, much cheaper than the Paoletti of course, but they have their own unique vibe going on. I'm a huge PJD fanboy, but I'd always recommend those. And the other one, which is on a pedestal all of its own, it's way up there, is the Tone Fuchs Dyna. That's a perfect guitar in basically every way for me. Video of that one too, if you'd like to see that. Offset guitar with amazing Lola pickups in it, and every step of the way it's been been built to the same standards as something like this Paoletti. An absolutely perfect guitar if you're into that kind of thing. Other brands that I would recommend for this sort of style of guitar would be something by Sir, for example. A Nash Tele-style guitar would be a great choice, or something by Shabat. Now, Shabat guitars are fantastic, built in Los Angeles. I've played them at a bunch of guitar summits and NAMM shows and so on, and they are wonderful guitars to try out if you ever get the chance as well. Now, if you want to spend a bit less money, PJDs are always going to be a great choice, but you could try Maybach as well. They're building some fantastic guitars in Europe. I love their new Flying V inspired Jetwing model, but they have Tele-style models, they have Strat style models, Les Paul style models, and so on. So try those out if you get a chance to. Or you could go into more affordable Fender or even Gibson territory, because there are going to be some great choices there, especially if you shop around a bit. And finally, well, you could buy 20 Harley Bentons for the same price, because that's going to be as good, right? Nah, not really. But it's always an option if you've got a bit less money to spend. And I love the Harley Bentons that I have as well. At the end of the day, though, there's something unique, something inspiring, something deeply emotionally affecting about the Paoletti Nancy Loft SP90. And this is one of those very rare guitars where as soon as I got it out the case, picked it up and strummed that first chord, it hooked me in every sense of the word. And all of my senses were overloaded with just how good this guitar is. It looks fantastic, it feels fantastic, it plays fantastically well, it sounds beautiful. It is a great guitar in every way. Now, it's not cheap by any means, of course, but if you're someone who has the money to be looking for a guitar like this, I think you really owe it to yourself to try a Paoletti out, because there's something totally unique as well. And again, if you've got the money for a guitar like this, you probably have a bunch of Fenders and Gibsons and so on already. So try something like a Paoletti and I'll think you'll be surprised. They seem to be a wonderful company as well in terms of the way they're looking out for the planet. They're carbon neutral, they try and use as few plastics as possible, and so on and so on and so on. And that's the kind of company that I'd be happy to give my money to if I ever win the lottery at some point in the future. Now, I'm going to have to give this guitar back, although I'm going to shed a couple of tears while I package it back up again, because it really is one of the very best guitars that I've ever had the fortune of playing. And mark my words, at some point in the future, I will, if I absolutely can, own a Paoletti guitar, and it will be very, very similar to this one. But I hope that this video has answered all of the questions that you may have had about the Paoletti Nancy Loft SP90. Again, watch the Paoletti documentary, which takes you behind the scenes at their building process and their factory and so on. It really tells you a lot more than I could in this video about those guitars and how meticulous they are in building them to be the best they can be. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know down there and I shall do my best to answer you. And if you're still around after what's probably been a pretty long video, it would make my day if you would like the video or maybe even sub to my channel, because that really does help. But that's been it for today. I've been Rich, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.